Let me start with you quickly, Dr. Kohli. Now, unemployment rates, how many jobs that we are creating, how many jobs that are required at the very best in an important global economy like India, they are all guesstimations. Why is that, sir?
Well, the answer, Rishabh, is very simple because in our country, for example, there is no system of verifying, checking, tallying, adding, counting. I mean, I can take all ways and means. There is no system, and there has been no system in the past as well. We've been relying on CMIE. We've been relying on these private agency surveys. Sometimes micro surveys happen in certain states, which do reflect upon, and they can be extrapolated upon the mega picture. But a precise survey is not available. The fact of the matter is, Rishabh, at this point of time, we have about 25 to 30 crore families in the country. 142 crores, I'm assuming a 5-member family. So somewhere around 25 to, because we don't even have the census, 142 crores. We keep adding 2 crores every few months or every 6 months. But basically, we don't have the census right now. The families are about 25, 30 crores. Now, I assume and presume, Rishabh, that there is at least one family member who's employed in a family. That's my first point. Now, if you take 2 family members, you add up to total people who are participating in the economic activity to be around 50 crores, which is the data which I have been working on for the last many years, that we've got about 50 crore people out of 142 crore who are involved in the economic activity. Now, when I say who are involved in economic activity, I mean these are not necessarily the people who are employed. These are the people, this includes employed people, this includes the gig workers, this includes the self-employed, this includes the farmers who are working. Now, the problem comes when there is disguised unemployment. That is a family, because 60 to 70% of our population, Rishabh, is still dependent directly or indirectly on agriculture. So what happens when a family of 1 is required to sow a particular farm and there are 4 people working? So we call this as disguised. That is, we are not clear. In fact, you know what? A very interesting thing happened. I would like to mention here. Once I went to a village and I happened to speak to a few families. This was about 3 years ago, just before COVID. And I went there and I asked, I said, "Aapke ghar mein kitne log kaam karte hain?" I had gone for some purpose, and there was an economic angle to the trip. So you know what they said? This was a family of 6 people. Listen to the answer given to me. मैंने कहा, आपके घर में कोई बेरोजगार है? कहते नहीं जी, हम तो सारे के, all of us work in the field. मैंने कहा, आप सारे, how big is your field and how much do you earn? They said, we earn 1 lakh rupees per annum, और हम 6 के 6 लोग घर उस फील्ड पे काम करते हैं. Now, what do you call this? I call this as disguised unemployment. Where during a survey, they would refuse to accept the fact that they are unemployment. So I think the census of employment or the count of employment, Rishabh, in this country is a very, very complex process. Only 23% of the women in this country, Rishabh, listen to this data. Only 23% of the women, which is half of our population, are participating in the economic activity. Now the rest of the women say we are not unemployed. So what do you do with that? So I think the problem and the complexity is in taking the count. Until or unless we have a final count, Rishabh, it will be very difficult to arrive at any policy. It will be very difficult to conclude on what is the situation on employment. It will be very difficult to conclude that how many people are actually looking for jobs, Rishabh.
Okay. So Dr. Kohli, now let's look at some of the facts that we do know. Okay. Now let's look at Swanidhi. Almost 70 lakh micro loans have been disbursed. The first loan you are eligible for is just 10,000 rupees. A total value of 9,500 crore rupees. Of the first tranche, the only data which is available suggests that of the people, which is the rediwala, the roadside vendor, without any collateral took 10,000 rupees in loan, 85% of those have been paid back, and a large amount of people have then gone back and said, okay, now we're eligible for 20,000. So the first 10,000 you have to pay back in 6 months, then 20,000 you can pay back in 1 year, then you get 50,000, then you can pay back that in 3 years. Is this a success? Because it does have default. But if 85% of the rediwalas have paid back their loans without any collateral, is that a success?
Well, obviously, I mean, if the money is coming back, obviously where would he repay from? Because at the outset, if he had the money, he wouldn't have borrowed. But if he borrowed, he's taken it, if he's able to repay, obviously there is some kind of money circulation happening, which means the ready which he has or whatever small little business he's, although, as far as mudra is concerned, I do know a lot of mudra beneficiaries who had bought the refrigerators and televisions for their home, and they had not put the money in use for the business. But then, assuming that let that be the case, even then, if the repayment of Swanidhi is good, it is definitely indicative of the fact that some kind of economic activity is being done. But Rishabh, the bigger problem lies, as I said, in the authenticity of the survey. There are two things. One is authenticity of the survey. Second is when things like Mudra and Swanidhi happen, where there has been a shortcoming here, which I would like to highlight. The shortcoming is we haven't been trailing the borrowers. Ideally, when a policy like this is made, what we should have done is we should have done a micro kind of trailing where each of these Rediwalas or each of these Mudra beneficiaries, for example, they should have been trailed to find out the end use of the money, because that would have done two benefits. One, it would have told us that where the money is being put to use. One. Two, it would have also told us that how much employment this person generated, whether he could meet both of his ends, first of all, he could manage his family, or how many people. So I think we missed that trail.
Okay. So the question. Okay. Yeah, but you and I discuss about the unicorns, right? Because the case studies which we now need to do is find the Rediwala who says that I took these 10,000 rupees. Okay, I managed to set up my Maggie shop, and with my Maggie shop I earned this much. Now I've returned the money, I've taken a further loan. I'm going to use. So the question then, the closing thought Sharad Kohli becomes is that in the various ways of translating economic growth at a national level to per capita income, not just as a computation of GDP divided by population, but in every home, are we seeing history in the making? Is Mudra, is Swanidhi, the cost, the micro loan methodology, is this structurally different as SBI claims it is?
No, undoubtedly, Rishabh. These Swanidhi and Mudra are contributing to the progress. See, if we go into basic economics to pick up thoughts from where you left, when the GDP climbs at 6 or 7%, when we head towards 5 trillion, somebody asked me, GDP 5 trillion, so what does it give to me? I said, me and you, everybody's productivity, services, manufacturing adds up to GDP. So I think as the country progresses, you will see the fruits trickling down to the bottommost level. This is one point, without a doubt. But the problem is that with Mudra and Swanidhi and with startups, which my previous panelists refer, the fact of the matter is that 9 out of 10 startups fail as well.
Yes.
So the choice for a youth is whether I get a secured future and a job or I go for my own. Now, the answer lies, one, in success, two, in the quantum of returns. That how soon can he start making the same amount which he would have earned in a job. So if he finds the job easy, he goes towards the job. The moment he finds that he can make money from his own business, they will immediately switch. So I think it's a very dynamic situation. And as the country progresses, there is no doubt that the benefits are going to trickle down.
So let's look at mass employment. I want you to think about it. Loan without collateral that is being paid back by a street vendor. Okay. A person whom a private bank 10 years ago wouldn't have touched with a 12-foot pole.
In fact, those people didn't have even courage to walk
to the bank. Something remarkable is taking place.
Yes.
And a larger part of this is now being captured through UPI. So, you have transaction histories. Something fundamental is changing place. The bottom line is, do we look back at this period? Okay. And do we then study these micro loans as the fundamental economic driver as India's GDP was progressing? The answer is more and more yes. Mudra, Swanidhi are changing the scope of India. Fingers crossed they continue to do so.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.